Throughout Advent, we're practicing a bold claim. Reality is a responsive, entangled creativity field in which we live, move, and have our entire being. I call this substrate of reality the God field, the conscious universe, to help us understand that God doesn't exist far away from us, but is woven into the fabric of everything. When we stop to tune in, as we do at the beginning of our time together at the current, and any time we take a moment throughout our days and weeks to slow down, we intentionally acknowledge and experience our connection with God, and therefore with all things. Advent is our training ground to notice the God field in which we all exist and co-create. It encourages us to make conscious decisions based on what we observe, intend, and do, collapsing God's infinite possibilities toward compassion. Each week, we'll explore one layer of connection, global, national, local, and family, recognizing that none of it is over there. It's all right here, within and all around us. Our hope-filled participation matters because we are profoundly connected. So, let's talk about hope, because honestly, it's having a bit of a rough decade. For many of us, hope feels naive right now, maybe even performative, a participation trophy we give ourselves for not completely falling apart when we look at the state of the world. I get it. We deserve the trophy. Climate scientists keep moving up their "we're screwed" timelines. Economic systems get manipulated in ways most of us understand but feel powerless to change. Wars keep grinding on, discarding millions of lives. And every time the world hits rock bottom, reality says, "Hold my beer." Democracy crumbles. Fascism rises. The gap between rich and poor becomes a canyon. The planet burns. Kids go hungry while billionaires race to colonize Mars. It's exhausting, enraging, and it breaks our hearts. So when someone chirps, "Have hope," it can feel like they're just asking us to slap on a happy face and pretend everything's fine. But ignoring reality isn't hopeful. It's delusional. Real hope means seeing into the chaos and recognizing the God field where infinite possibilities exist, waiting for us to engage with them. Chaos is an opportunity for us to imaginatively rethink reality. Hope helps us see differently, connected through the deeper reality of God, with more honesty about life's raw unfairness. This doesn't mean we stop working to make the world more equitable. Seeing into that field of infinite possibilities helps us act from abundance rather than scarcity, with love rather than fear. Before we go any further, let's take a deeper look at what hope is not. Hope is not toxic positivity. It's not pretending everything is fine when it manifestly is not. Hope doesn't gaslight us about the very real suffering in the world or in our own lives. Hope is also not the prosperity gospel wearing a quantum physics costume. We're not talking about visualizing our way to a new car or believing that an illness persists because someone hasn't prayed hard enough for a miracle. That's spiritual snake oil, and it's garbage theology that blames victims for their suffering. And hope is definitely not passively sitting around waiting for God or the universe to fix everything. That's not how God works. That's not how any of this works. We are not mere spectators in creation. We are participants, co-creators entangled with the divine at every level of our being. Our lack of awareness of that critical fact is responsible for most of the world's suffering. Now, here's what we actually know from brain science. Hope is your brain doing a complex dance. Many different regions work together to help you imagine and move toward a better future. When researchers study hopeful people, rather than a singular hope signal, they see widespread brain activity across many different regions and in a multitude of synaptic patterns. Our understanding of neurology is good news, everyone. We know what fosters hope. Imagining specific positive futures in detail, practicing gratitude for tangible things, taking action. any action to help someone else and reframing our catastrophic thoughts into realistic engagement are practices that rewire our brains and influence how we interact in the world. Consider this. When you hope for a more just world, that hope changes how you vote, how you spend your money, how you treat the cashier at the grocery store, and whether you show up at the protest or the community meeting. Hope attunes you to opportunities to make things better that you might otherwise have scrolled right past. Hope is keeping our hearts and minds aligned with love, especially when everything around us screams fear and division. That alignment to love changes us. Changed people change systems, and changed systems change the world. In quantum mechanics, interactions between systems affect outcomes. Not because consciousness is magic, but because nothing exists in isolation. Nothing is set in stone. Everything affects everything else. We are all so entangled. But rather than controlling outcomes like a cosmic programmer coding our lives, the God field responds with us, through us. We are literally how God experiences and creates within this reality. When we practice hope, when we train our brains through gratitude, through imagining better futures, through actually doing the work of compassion, we not only feel better, we change how we interact with reality itself. We're choosing which possibilities to engage with through our actions, our attention, and our embodied presence. This is what Jesus meant when he said that faith can move mountains. He wasn't selling supernatural wish fulfillment. He was describing how consciousness works when paired with action. Your focused attention, our hope-filled attention, combined with actually showing up and doing something, co-creates reality with the divine. This Advent, as we practice noticing the God field, we're equipping ourselves to hope more skillfully and intentionally, not by denying darkness, that's unrealistic, but by learning to see the light that's already here, in creative motion with us. As you go about your days, begin to notice where things are already working. The mutual aid networks, the neighbor checking on the elderly couple, the kid organizing for climate justice, the quiet daily kindness of ordinary people choosing love over fear. These aren't exceptions to the darkness. They're proof that the God field is always active, possibilities constantly coalescing toward compassion through people who've learned to work with and within the God field. We must also notice our own ripple effects, how our choices spread outward, how what we pay attention to shapes what becomes visible, how our actions, however small, influence the whole system. We're not powerless. We're not alone. We're entangled with every other conscious being and with the conscious universe itself. Notice that possibilities keep emerging. No matter how dark it gets, new options keep showing up. Evolution keeps evolving. Love keeps finding a way. Not because some sky daddy's pulling strings, but because creativity and emergence are baked into consciousness itself. And we are swimming in an ocean of consciousness. So, here are some concrete, science-backed ways to train our brains and engage the God field. The first one is episodic future thinking. Spend 5 minutes visualizing a specific positive outcome in detail. Don't fantasize, visualize concrete, attainable futures. When you do that, your brain starts building neural pathways toward that reality. Try some gratitude journaling. Write down 3 specific things you're grateful for. Avoid generic statements like I'm grateful for my family, and instead specify details like I'm grateful my kid made me laugh at breakfast by doing that ridiculous voice. Try pro-social action. Do one thing, however small, for someone else. Buy the coffee, send the text, show up. Action builds hope. Cognitive reframing is when we catch ourselves catastrophizing, which we all do. So practice yes and. Yes, this is terrible. And here's what I can do about it. This isn't toxic positivity, but realistic engagement. And as you all know, it ain't easy. And lastly, Try some coherent breathing. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. It calms your nervous system and helps your prefrontal cortex come back online so you can actually think. Practicing intentional thought, choice, and action isn't naive hopefulness. It's the God field at work through conscious, committed, embodied participation. And in that field, there's always hope, not as wishful thinking, but as the creative force of love itself, waiting for us to notice it, engage with it, and do the actual work of co-creating God's realm here and now. That's the hope we practice this Advent. Not a trophy for surviving, but a tool for deeper, more profound engagement with reality as it actually is, alive, responsive, and filled with infinite possibility. Amen. Our question to consider is, when have you experienced hope, not as wishful thinking, but as something that actually changed how you showed up and acted in the world? Let's take a couple of minutes to just ponder this, and then we'll open up for discussion.